Welcome to another interview in our FM Expert series. Today I'm delighted to introduce Peter Hall to us. Hi Peter, how are you?
I'm very well, Beth. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Peter is the Head of Property and Landlord Compliance at charity Centrepoint. And Peter, you're going to share with us your thoughts and your insights on leadership within health and safety, which I think is a really important area. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Beth. Yes, leadership comes in many different forms within the health and safety environment. A lot of people who take responsibility of health and safety companies actually are thrown into the role. Either it's given to them because nobody else wants to do it. Management see it as or can see it as a burden to them. Yeah. It's an extra bit of responsibility that some of them don't take. And one of the reasons that management tend to shy away in many cases is they don't actually understand the law. They don't understand the regulations. And they certainly don't take the time to read up on what is their responsibility. And I did a study a few years ago when I was doing my dissertation on who knows about health and safety law, regulations, responsibilities at management level. Yeah. And it was quite surprising that when the results came back in, and I sent questionnaires out to 500 companies. Okay. And I got a very high response back, but the two highest returns were from middle management and first line management. Okay. But one of the things that they said was the drawback is we don't get the training that we need. Yeah. And if you're going to actually lead on health and safety, you've got to know health and safety. Yep. It's something that it's not like business leadership. Business leadership, yeah, you can go to school and you can learn about it. There's plenty of books out there. There's plenty of courses out there. You yourself as a eminent trainer knows that. There's plenty of courses. But actual leadership is all about communication in my mind. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to communicate and also get workplace involvement as well. Yeah. But actually, in terms of health and safety within the workplace, and as you know, I spent 20 plus years in the facilities management arena, working with many different companies, sizes, organizations, schools, hospitals, etc. Then different people have different views of how things should be done. For sure. However, three main points. Communication. How do you communicate health and safety? Well, I got in trouble a few years ago for actually telling a company to take posters down that said safety is our #1 priority. Yeah. Because it's not. Safety is a priority in a lot of organizations. It is. Is it the #1? Well, I doubt it. And in this organization, it certainly wasn't. So when I spoke to the leadership of the company, and that was the managing director, the chairman, and some of his board members, I said to the time, I said, is this actually your #1 priority? I got short shift. They said, of course it is, this, that, and the other. Yes, it is. I said, okay, so tell me, what do you do? Yeah. How many times do you go out there and actually see what's going on? How many times do you actually walk, on the shop floor, talk to and communicate with your workforce about safety? Well, that's not my job.
Because they often don't understand what on earth should be being done in the first place, Peter. That's fundamentally one of the problems, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. There is a simple quote: lead by example. Yeah. And why not? And this was brought home to me today. Actually, I read a very short article, but something that I've had in the back of my mind and I've known about for many years. In turning this idea of safety being the #1 priority into an actual vision.
Yeah.
And most organizations have a vision. So why isn't safety part of that? And that means that everybody in the organization actually will then take responsibility. And Dawn Hemmings, another chartered professional, health and safety professional, who wrote the short article, made that point very, very clear. Yeah. And it's absolutely true that this is something that one should do. Yeah. And I talked about there being many books out there. Another advocate for this type of communication and get it is Dr. Tim Marsh. Although he's a psychologist, he wrote a very, very, very good book on total safety culture, yeah, which is worth reading. Yeah. I've had it on my desk for years, and very well thumbed. However, in terms of who should actually lead, well, across an organisation, everybody has that responsibility to lead. But in terms of senior management, yeah, they're the ones that have to answer questions. They're the ones that have to make decisions, put policies and procedures in place. Well, if that is the case, and in most cases it is, yep, train your people, educate them, provide them with the tools to be able to do the job. Yep. Because if you don't have those tools, you cannot actually impart the knowledge. And a lot of health and safety is about common sense.
Oh God, yeah.
But it is about knowledge, yep, as well. Yep. And to be able to, shall we say, encourage the workforce to actually act responsibly and to work responsibly, then you've got to be able to show leadership in doing that, yeah, yourselves, but at the same time, be able to, if you're asked a question, if you don't know the answer, then find it, go back to them. Say that you will go back to them, and then go back to them. You're showing an element of leadership there. Yeah. And in my mind, actually, leading by example is very high on the list. It shouldn't be the last thing that people think about. When you actually put together job descriptions, I see this quite often for managers and senior managers. There is just a very small line that says health and safety, lead by example. When you look at health and safety policies, organisation, arrangements, it talks about who has responsibilities from the highest point right down to the lowest. Yeah. But it seems to drop down. And this is why when I said that when I did my study a few years ago, it showed up that the middle management to lower management actually came up with the highest percentage of actually knowing what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, I think, and that doesn't surprise me actually, because I think often if we think of the audience we've got, sort of facilities management, operational people, they're the people doing, and they get it often. They might need a bit more knowledge, but they get it. The thing I find is when I speak to senior leadership teams, they don't understand. They think these guys are doing the doing. They don't understand the accountability sits on their shoulders. They don't really get it. So that's always a really interesting session when you see the lights going off and they think, oh God, actually, what, I should be doing something. Yeah. I haven't just delegated all of that down.
Well, that's absolutely right, and I've seen that so many times when I've given presentations to senior management teams, and and actually having to correct them about, well, if we don't do this or we don't get it done by somebody professional, then we're going to go to jail. No, go and find out exactly what you need to do, and then you can impart that knowledge. But one of the other areas which I think it's extremely important and people do tend to forget about is workplace involvement. Yeah. Involve with your workforce. Yeah. Get them involved. Get them on board, because if you get them on board, then you can actually ensure that it's going to filter through the organisation. Yeah. Behavioural safety has been around for many years and has become very, very widely understood in particularly high-risk industries that I've visited. I'll be honest, I've never worked in the gas or the offshore industry or anything like that, but I listen to my colleagues in those industries, and they're telling me about what they do, and behavioural safety, and actually imparting knowledge, team getting together and imparting knowledge to each other actually makes things a lot better, reduces the accident rate, increases productivity, and actually gives a better overall workplace, to somewhere that you can actually work in. Facilities managers, and I've spent 22 years with facilities managers. Sometimes they're on their own. They're out there on their own, and they have got to make a decision. It's suddenly written into their job description. We are responsible for health and safety in these different areas. Well, they've got to show the leadership. So the only way that they can show the leadership is if we train them, if we give them that knowledge, if we actually support them. And I always say that I'm a support mechanism. In my role as a safety professional, I'm here to support, but at the same time, I'm here to lead. But I can only do that if I lead by example. And that's the same with the leadership in an organisation. Understand the subject and move forward.
I think it's such an important area, and I think you've given us some really, really good food for thought. And I think the message that comes across is about accountability at every level, and like you said, communication is fundamentally the key, isn't it? Listen, I'm conscious of time. I'm conscious of your time as well. So thank you. I know you're really busy at Centrepoint with all the COVID response. I know things have been very hard for you. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I might have to get you back for a bit more insight. So thank you very much for now, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.